Boredom is something that you feel when your mind cannot relax into the present moment. Boredom is what you experience when your mind rejects the present moment, when it does not accept it. Your mind, it's always seeking. It's always seeking some kind of content. And so when you don't get any content and you have to sit with yourself, then you feel bored. You feel bored when you're looking for content, but you don't find any, you cannot find any. And you have to sit with yourself. You have to sit in the present moment without content. And so that's when boredom kicks in. Then you feel bored because your mind has nothing to munch on. There's nothing happening. Maybe you're in school, maybe you're in class, and you're just waiting for the bell to ring. You're just counting the seconds. And you notice that the more you count the seconds, the longer it takes for the time to pass. Right? Time slows down. Time slows down. And each second passes by very slowly, and you're sitting there bored. You experience boredom when nothing interesting is going on, and you have to sit there. You feel bored when there's nothing interesting going on and you have to sit with yourself. And the reason why you perceive that as a negative is because you're not able to accept the present moment. Your mind is looking for the next thing. It's looking for the next thing, and you're not able to just relax with your current thing. So how can boredom be sweet? How can boredom be sweet? How can you befriend it? Because you're not always going to have interesting things going on, even though there might be something interesting going on. Sometimes you may not find it interesting. Sometimes you'll have moments where there is something interesting going on, and you don't find it interesting. Like in class, like at work. Especially class though. Because oftentimes, at least when you're young, you're put into subjects. You're put into those classes which you don't really care about. You're often told to study those things which you're not really interested in, at least at the moment. And the teacher, they're not really helping either. We live in a culture right now where we all carry our phones around, and we always have something, a device that we can use to, look up something that we'll find interesting. The conventional way to deal with boredom, the common way, is to just do something interesting. And nowadays we all carry around these devices that allow us to access a world at our fingertips, and we can always just look up something interesting. And a lot of the times, even if we don't find something interesting, just the novelty of looking at new content is a way in which we deal with boredom. But it doesn't have to be like this. What's the issue with trying to deal with boredom in this way? What's the problem with trying to deal with boredom through content? Content will alleviate it for a short term, but eventually you'll run out of content and then you'll be bored again. Let's say you're playing a game and you're bored, now you're trying to pass the time, so you load up this game. What you'll find is soon you'll be bored of the game and you'll want to play something else. So what it leads to is this never-ending cycle where you're just constantly going through content, which is why people nowadays are just always scrolling on their phones. They're just looking for the next post, the next image, the next video, the next short, the next reel, and on and on and on, and they just keep going. It seems like madness to not be able to sit with yourself and to always be looking at the next piece of content. What you can do instead is you can take a deep breath and become alert. If you catch yourself scrolling on any one of these social media websites, take a deep breath and recognize that your mind is in that state where it's looking for new content because it's bored, or at least it's running away from being bored. The way to break the spell of boredom is to become highly alert. It's to become alert of the present moment. of how you feel in this current moment. Allow yourself to just sit with it and sit with the emotion that you're feeling right now. If you're feeling bored and it feels bad, pay attention to it. Pay attention to how your mind feels uneasy. Pay attention to the kind of fantasies that you might be having about the next thing that you're going to do. If you're sitting in class and you're feeling bored, pay attention to what your mind is thinking. If you're sitting at work or in class and you're thinking, maybe I'll socialize with my friends later. Maybe I'll go play some game. If the mind has a tendency to run away from the present moment, then you have to bring it back to the present moment, to whatever is happening right now. The mind only runs out of control when you're not paying attention to it. So if you're not paying attention to the fact that you're bored or running away from boredom, you're going to be scrolling for hours and hours. And 4 hours later, you're going to realize, I've been scrolling the past 4 hours. And maybe you needed to get something done. And so you'll remember it then. You won't remember it when you're scrolling. But once you awaken from that scrolling, you'll realize you'll remember all the things that you needed to do. So you can take away a lot of the power that the mind has over you by simply paying attention to it, by simply bringing it into your awareness. Becoming alert and realizing what's happening. Take a few deep breaths and feel that breath in your stomach. Feel that breath push your stomach out, and then release the breath and watch how your stomach goes back in. Relax your body and pay attention to what's going on. The only way to defeat boredom is to befriend it, is to become its friend. When it arrives, you welcome it. You say, hey, welcome. And just sit with it. In Eastern philosophy, there's this concept of Amrit. And Amrit literally means non-death. It's often translated as immortality. Some kind of drink that makes you immortal. But this is a very surface level understanding of it. is a very surface level understanding of Amrit. In relation to boredom, what Amrit actually is the ability or the taste or the experience that you have when you're bored, but when you sit comfortably in boredom. When you sit with boredom and you ease into it and you relax and you're not looking for the next thing. You're not looking for the next piece of content. And you ease into that moment, the present moment. And you feel that all what you have that's enough. What you currently have, whatever the content of your mind currently is enough. You don't need more. You don't need to seek more. And if you're not at that point where you're currently just sitting with whatever the content of your mind is, if you're not able to currently sit with that, then pay attention to it and see what's happening. Watch yourself not able to sit with the content of your mind. Whatever the moment may be, watch how your mind behaves in that moment. See what happens. Take a deep breath. Let it fill your belly. Feel it fill your belly. And look at how your mind behaves when it's looking for the next thing. Become familiar with it. Part of how you befriend boredom is you become alert to the kind of things that your mind does. Because often when you are under the spell of boredom, you're just going to be lost into whatever activity you're doing, and you're just going to continue to do that activity trying to get away from boredom. So one of the things that you have to practice is finding the patterns. Practice finding out what that looks like when your mind does that, when your mind is running away from boredom and it keeps scrolling. What does that look like? Become familiar with it so the next time it happens, you're ready for it, you're alert. You know it's going to happen, and you're waiting for it. Maybe just become alert the moment you pick up your phone. Because what's likely to happen is if you're on the social media or on any of the social medias, then you're likely to start browsing through it, and before you know it, you're going to be hooked and you're going to be scrolling endlessly. So maybe just become alert the moment you pick up your phone or go into one of these apps. And maybe you could put on some kind of timer. But ultimately, even if that timer starts to ring ultimately it's up to you to stop. And so you have to be ready for that. Because if you're not ready for it, you're gonna just keep going, even if the alarm rings, right? It's like if you're sleeping and the alarm rings, if you aren't ready to get up, you're just gonna snooze it or turn it off altogether. And getting lost in these types of things and in these types of emotions like boredom and anger and sadness, it's kind of like sleeping. The saints will use metaphors like sleeping and waking up when referring to these types of things. So the next time you catch yourself be bored, just take a deep breath and watch how your mind behaves and sit with that boredom. Sit with that boredom and then see what happens. And if you get uncomfortable, allow yourself to get uncomfortable and then sit with it. Sit with the discomfort. If you are familiar with any meditation techniques, you can try those out during this time. What I would suggest is that if you're bored, do not continue the activity that you were doing to try to escape the boredom. So, like if you're in class and you're just staring at the time, don't do that. Just pay attention to what is going on inside of you. And if you're scrolling, stop scrolling and sit with yourself and pay attention. Be alert. What you will notice when you do that is that you actually start to feel a lot more comfortable. When you become aware of the present moment, when you become aware of what your mind is doing, you'll notice that you actually become more comfortable with the boredom. And it might even go away entirely. You might even relax, and you might feel sort of peaceful. You might feel at ease. So if you were doing an activity to try and run away from boredom, once you feel at ease, maybe you can try continuing that again to see if you can do that activity while you're more alert, without getting lost into this constant need to get away from boredom, without getting lost in that running away state. See if you can continue the activity. And remember to be more alert during that activity. All right, guys, if you have any more questions, if you have any more topics that you want me to cover, then leave those in the comments. And I would love to hear from you guys and hear what you have to say. and I'd love to talk about it. See you guys later.